It was just part of the game. I think the refs had a lot to do with that. It was a build-up for a couple of years now of them just not protecting, the star player of the WNBA. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do.
Did you hear the news? Sophie Cunningham has fearlessly called out the WNBA referees for not doing their job and failing to protect their league's biggest superstar, Caitlin Clark. That's right. Sophie declared what everyone was thinking, but was too afraid to say out loud. The referees are not protecting Caitlin Clark. In fact, they're actively enabling the chaos.
The officiating in the WNBA became as hot button of an issue as any. Heated debates surrounding the league's physicality dominated the headlines, particularly when Indiana Fever star rookie Caitlin Clark was subject to several intentional fouls.
We've officially crossed the line from tough basketball into organized chaos. And the only reason the league hasn't completely imploded yet, because players like Sophie Cunningham are out here doing what the referees, executives, and even the league commissioner won't, standing up and saying enough is enough.
For that, so what do you actually need to do to be ejected from the game in a WNBA?
Sophie Cunningham isn't just playing solid basketball this season. She's now taken on a new role as Caitlin Clark's unofficial bodyguard, as well as the loudest voice calling out the embarrassing state of officiating in the WNBA. After weeks of watching her teammate get body checked, shoved, fouled, and flat out assaulted on live television, Sophie finally snapped.
Watch some of these plays, guys. Watch some of these plays on Caitlin Clark. Look at this. Look at this. See that? Grabbing, physically grabbing her, applying pressure, pushing her.
And instead of quietly whispering in post-game interviews, she's calling out the referees directly. No more sugarcoating, no more vague, we could do better talk. Sophie dropped the hammer and called everyone out on their hypocrisy.
Oh yeah, Sophie Cunningham had enough, folks. Shout out to Sophie Cunningham. We wanted somebody like this that said, I'm tired of this. I'm trying to step up. It's time to step up. We're not going to get punked anymore. We're not going to get pushed around anymore.
And thank God someone finally did. It all started with a seemingly normal Fever game. Well, as normal as it can get when Caitlin Clark is on the court and every opponent treats her like she insulted their grandma. You know the drill by now. Clark drives to the basket, gets hacked midair, slams the floor, no whistle. On the next possession, a gentle breeze passes an opposing player, and suddenly the whistle is blowing like it's a fire drill. But this time, Sophie was there, and she wasn't having it.
Watch
the steal.
Watch it. Oh!
Going coast to coast.
What's up, then?
And here's we got another breakers here as J.C. Sheldon goes right
the
after
blonde hair
Sophie
and the high
Cunningham.
heels fool you.
It was a hard foul, no
You got
question.
her in the headlock.
After another egregious non-call where Caitlin was fouled and landed with a thud, Sophie lost it. She confronted the refs mid-play. She demanded an explanation, and when they brushed her off, she didn't just move on. She started a fight.
Anymore. We are going to start being the ones that say, you know what? We're not going to start the fight, but we damn sure will finish the fight. Sophie Cunningham. J.C. Sheldon going up for a layup, puts her head down like a running back, exploding through the hole. Sophie Cunningham wraps her up, tosses her little ass to the ground, says, "What's good?" And then Lindsay Allen goes after her along with J.C. Sheldon and Sophie Cunningham. Look at Sophie.
Sophie stepped in front of the opposing player like a brick wall, chest out, eyes locked. And when the refs tried to de-escalate, she didn't back down. She said what fans, analysts, and players have been screaming for months: do your job. That altercation got her a technical, and she didn't care, because in her mind, standing up for Caitlin Clark was worth the penalty.
Sophie Cunningham had enough, folks. Shout out to Sophie Cunningham. We wanted somebody like this that said, I'm tired of this. I'm trying to step up. It's time to step up. We're not going to get punked anymore. We're not going to get pushed around anymore. We're not going to get treated like a little sister anymore, like a little brother anymore.
In the post-game presser, when reporters asked about the situation, Sophie dropped the truth bomb the league has been desperately trying to avoid. She called out the refs by name, not individuals, but the entire system. Sophie tore into the hypocrisy. She said the WNBA loves to talk about fair play, about growing the game, about supporting women. But apparently all of that gets tossed in the trash the moment Caitlin Clark hits the floor. Because when Clark is getting hit with MMA level fouls and there's no whistle, that's not oversight, that's bias.
It never was before. And yet, since she's joined the league as a rookie, she's been abused. She's been abused over and over again by these other players. And reportedly, it's a race thing, that many black women inside the WNBA are resentful that this white woman came in and is getting all this attention. Nobody disputes that she's an amazing basketball player, but still they seem resentful.
And here's the kicker. This isn't just Sophie talking. Nope. In fact, several other players, both retired and active, have quietly nodded in agreement. Coaches like Stephanie White have already spoken out on the referee favoritism problem, and now it's out in the open.
The fouls were so frustrating that even Steph White in the post-game interview remarked on it.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing.
White has been candid in her own way, and when you dig into her pressers, you can feel the tension. She knows something's wrong with the WNBA officiating. She's watched her team consistently lose the free throw battle, and not just barely. We're talking lopsided stats where the Fever are down by double-digit attempts every game, and it's always the same trend. Clark gets mugged, refs look away.
So yeah, I was like super frustrated watching this game. It was not called the same for both teams. And I haven't been one to call out the refs a lot I hadn't been one to call out the refs a lot last season, but this season it's so apparent that how lopsided the officiating is.
The numbers don't lie. Caitlin Clark has already drawn more contact than any other player, especially on jump shots and drives. But somehow her free throw attempts near the bottom. How does that math work? It doesn't. Unless the league is following marching orders from the top like Sophie suggested in her fiery post-game comments.
He had to say. This past season, many people criticize referees for the amount of physicality that is a part of today's WNBA game, urging officials to better protect players who are subject to hard fouls.
Let's talk about consistency, or the lack of it, because Sophie called out the refs for being wildly inconsistent from one end of the floor to the other. One moment, a defender can practically tackle Clark and nothing gets called. The next play, Clark taps someone's wrist on defense, and the whistle blows like someone hit the jackpot. And that's not just infuriating, that's dangerous.
She went hard at the referees, and I wonder, will the WNBA fine this coach over that? I've got a feeling. They shouldn't. They better listen to her, but they probably won't. The officiating in this league makes the NFL officials look.
Because let's be honest, this league keeps pretending like Caitlin Clark is just another rookie, but she's not. She's the most valuable player in the entire league. And I'm not talking about awards. I'm talking revenue. I'm talking viewership. I'm talking national recognition. Without Clark, those sellouts, gone. Those TV deals, out of the window. And those new fans, disappearing faster than a supersonic jet.
Officiating. 2024 was a year of unprecedented growth in viewership in the WNBA, a substantial amount of which can be attributed to Caitlin Clark, who took the basketball world by storm after an
Yet she's being treated like cannon fodder, and Sophie, to her credit, is brave enough to say it out loud on the record. And let's not ignore what Sophie really did by calling them out. She exposed the rot in the WNBA officiating system. She said plainly, this isn't about missed calls. It's about referees deliberately choosing not to protect the league's most important player. She even used the word the league hates more than anything: corruption.
If we let the Sun bully the hell out of Caitlin Clark, maybe she can't get to that, and I win the bet. You got to be aware of all that kind of thing.
According to the experts, the problem isn't just the whistle holders on the floor, it's the higher-ups who are letting this happen. This is a top-down issue, and the referees are just pawns in a bigger game. She said the quiet part out loud. This isn't random, this is planned.
This is why it's rigged. This is why it's rigged. Basically, what I gather from this is there's a committee that is saying what style of basketball they want to allow, what is okay, what is acceptable, what is not, and the referees are following that law. What I also gather from this is that the league is basically saying it can be this physical, let it be this physical.
And when you look at the pattern, she's absolutely right. Clark has been fouled to the ground at least a dozen times this season, most of them while shooting. Review the tape and you'll see arms coming down on her wrists, shoulders colliding with her midair, and players launching into her body. Yet, game after game, nothing happened.
I've seen that about the WNBA as of late too. Like, are the officials trying to navigate games in certain directions. We got to remember there's things like prop betting, and can we keep somebody, hey, I put $2,000 over on Caitlin Clark not being able to score 25 points tonight. The payoff on that is 10 grand. You see?
Fans have noticed too. They've compiled montages of every hard hit Clark has taken with no whistle. Those clips are racking up millions of views and fans are furious. And here's where Sophie nailed it. She said this isn't just unfair to Clark, it's unfair to the entire league. Because if players can't trust the refs, what's the point? If there's no consistency, no protection, no integrity, what's left?
Quote, the contact made by Mayberry did not rise to the level of ejection. That in itself should get your ass fired and your entire referee crew. That proves you are clueless. Yeah, you're not up to the job.
Out of the 24 WNBA games this season that cracked the 1 million viewer mark, 21 of them featured Clark. Her games average over 1.1 million viewers, and games without her, under 400,000. That's a nearly 3 times drop, and it's not just TV. Merchandise sales, ticketing revenue, tourism, media clicks, social engagement, even local restaurant traffic, all of it revolved around one player only.
And Fever, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, that is the marquee matchup in the WNBA, and those tickets are crashing just as well. From $86 48 hours ago to $25. And by the time June 7th rolls around, it might cost you a bag of Skittles and some Lay's potato chips to get in there.
And now that generational player is sidelined, not because of fate, but because the league has completely failed to protect her. Let's call it what it is: gross negligence and a catastrophic failure in leadership. And it all leads back to WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, who's now being roasted from every corner of the internet, and rightfully so.
Lead led all teams with an average attendance of 17,035. That was up 319% from the year earlier. 319%. 319%. All other teams still grew by double-digit percentages. So let's not forget that. But they didn't grow by 319%. That was Caitlin Clark, which means she's largely responsible for the overall league attendance records.
But more importantly, how is this supposed to grow the game? The WNBA finally has the star it's been dreaming of for years. A player who gets people talking, a player whose games trend every night, a player who turns sports bars into WNBA parties and little girls into hoopers. And the league is letting her get body slammed out of the building.
Like this because it sounds sketchy. Like, I'm not on the train of people who think that the NBA and the WNBA are rigged, but you can't also just say sketchy things. So he says, it is then our responsibility to make sure that we're living up to those standards through constant feedback from our stakeholders. That's what good officiating looks like. They get the feedback from the stakeholders, and the feedback from literally everyone else, including the fans and players, they're not interested in hearing that. They go back to their stakeholders to make sure that they're doing a great.
That's not just bad business, that's sabotage. Referees openly admit that they rely on feedback, but not from players, not from fans, and not even from coaches. No, the only feedback that matters comes from stakeholders. So when a star like Caitlin Clark gets hacked to pieces with no whistles, don't expect the league to acknowledge it. They're not listening to the people who actually play and watch the games. Nope, they are only pleasing their masters.
What I also gather from this is that the league is basically saying, it can be this physical, let it be this physical. The problem that a lot of us have with the referees is it's either very physical and they're calling everything, or they're missing calls. There seems to be inconsistencies in how the referees are calling certain.
Let that sink in. Not what's fair, not what's safe, not what's legal within the rule book, but what style is currently acceptable. And the referees, they're just following orders. This is where it starts getting beyond sketchy. We're talking about an official system where refs are told in advance what type of physicality to allow. It's not even about calling the game by the book anymore. It's about interpreting unwritten laws decided by some mysterious group of stakeholders.
This league's a joke. Seriously. Stephanie White said the following, quote, pretty obvious stuff was brewing. When the officials don't get control of the ball game, when they allow this stuff to happen, it's been happening all season. This is what happens, right? You've got competitive women who are the best in the world. When you allow them to play physical and allow these things to happen, they're going to compete and they're going to have teammates back.
And Sophie Cunningham, she's tired of the silence. She's tired of the fake smiles, the empty promises, and the meaningless slogans. She stepped up and said what the commissioner should have said months ago. Protect Caitlin Clark. Because what's the alternative? Let this go on until she gets seriously injured? Let the jealousy and resentment keep fueling this assault parade until fans tune out in disgust?
Well, I've seen quite a few dust-ups in the league so far, so I think it's a league-wide issue. I mean, bad officiating is bad officiating.
Because here's the thing, fans are watching, and they're not stupid. They see the bias, they see the fouls, they see the scapegoats, and they're not going to stick around if the WNBA turns into a league where its stars are abused and silenced. And for Sophie Cunningham to risk her own reputation, her minutes, her career, and to say, I'll be the one who speaks up, that takes guts.
Custom-made Sophie Cunningham stands up for Caitlin Clark, and overnight, her jerseys are selling like hotcakes. Sophie Cunningham, salute to you.
So while the league office remains silent and the referees continue their three blind mice act, know this, Sophie Cunningham is doing their job for them. She's not just defending Caitlin Clark with her body on the court. She's defending with her voice, and that matters. That resonates.
These ladies are fed up with the type of targeting that is going on in this league, and more specifically, the targeting that is going on for the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark, every single play, somebody else is trying to get a...
Because every fan, every teammate, every young athlete watching knows that real change only comes when someone decides they've had enough. Sophie Cunningham has had enough, and the WNBA better listen before the next hit isn't just another highlight, before the next silence becomes a scandal, before the star they need walks away for good. The message is clear: protect Caitlin Clark or lose everything. And if you won't say it, Sophie will. So what do you think? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.